Hey guys, welcome to the Electron Academy. My name is Hussein and I'm gonna be your instructor for this Python series. So welcome to the third video of the series where we're gonna be doing math expressions. So we're gonna be learning about the plus, minus, division, and multiplication functions. So let's get into the keywords for today's video. There are only two, but they're quite similar actually. So the first one is an operator. So I'm not sure if you heard about this in maths or not, but an operator is basically a symbol that tells the programming language to perform a mathematical operation. So what do you mean by that? The plus sign, the minus sign, the multiplication sign, and the division sign. All of these are operators in maths, and of course is the same in programming. So when I refer to operators, I mean the plus, minus, multiplication, or division sign. Now the next keyword is an operand. Now an operand is the data that's given to and used by the operator. What do you mean by that? Let's say if I have a plus sign and I want to plus two numbers together, 8 and 5. So 8 and then there's a plus and then there's the second number 5, right? So that's how a multiplication formula works, or any operation. That's an addition formula, and other formulas work the same way. Multiplication, division, subtraction, all of these work in the same way. So the data 8 and 5, these are the operands, and the operator which is performing the function in, let's say, addition is the plus sign. So the plus sign is the operator and the numbers are the operand. So that's basically how this works. And we're gonna see this in real life. This video is gonna be pretty short actually, because there's only four functions, but there are a few interesting ways you can warp your answers and display them in different ways. It's pretty fun actually. So yeah, let's go and let's explore how we're supposed to do that exactly. Let's go. Okay guys, so now we are gonna be doing REPL.it. So we're gonna be doing the practical, and over here first we're gonna start with the how you actually do an addition, multiplication, division, subtraction, sum. How do you actually do that? So there are many ways to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division in math operations inside Python, and we're gonna be looking at a few ways of them. So first of all, let's do it simply with a print function. So what do I mean by that? Let's say I create a print function over here, and if I just want to print a mathematical sum, like I just want to print it, I don't want to put it in a variable, I just want to print it, and that's it. So you can just put the mathematical operation inside here, just like we did with strings and integers in the previous videos. So now we're going to do math operations. So how do you define a math operation in this case? So let's say I want to plus 8 and 5 together. So first I write 8, right? So I write 8 space, the plus sign on your keyboard, space, and the second number, which is 5. So 8 and 5 over here are basically our operands, and our plus sign is the operator, as we discussed in the keyword slideshow. And now if we run it over here, we get 13, right? So let's continue down. And this is basically how you can do it solely with the print function. But now let's try doing it with variables. Let's make it a little more interesting, huh? So let's say I create a variable called result, all right? Result, or the name of the variable, space, equals space, all right? And now over here I'm gonna give it the value in the same format. But let's say I want to assign it something different. So let's say I want to assign the result variable 7 minus 8. And no, this isn't a typo. I am actually doing 7 minus 8, which technically should give the answer -1. Let's see what happens. So once you assign your sum to a variable, you can go down, call the print function, and give it the argument of result over here. So the result variable, just as we did in the variables video. And now if you run it over here on the right side, you'll see that it displays -1 perfectly fine without any errors. So Python can again do negative numbers just fine. So now over here We can replace these numbers with something else as well, and it'll just work the same. So let's say if I do an actual proper negative sum, so let's say I want to do 14 minus 8, I can put 14 here, then 8 is there, and if I run it, it should display 6. As you can see, it displays 6 over here. So that's how you can do it with variables and just with the print function itself. Both are definitely possible. Okay, now let's go to something more interesting. So we've discovered the negative, or well, subtraction, and positive, or addition formula. I don't know why I'm saying negative or positive, but now that we've done it in these two ways, let's make it a little bit more interesting. So in the variables video, we discovered that you could concatenate or join different strings and integers together to display different things. So why don't we do that? And for this, to do this, I'm gonna create a variable called I'll just call it sum. So okay, this is something important. I wasn't planning to put this in the video, but it's good that it came up. So when you're using REPL, if you write anything down and it becomes purple, okay, so let's say I wrote sum down, and when you write purple, this thing pops up. You can, this basically means that you cannot use this keyword. It is off limits. Why is it off limits? The reason is that a Python function sum, like sum is a Python function, it's a built-in function, it's already created and it's a default part of Python. So you cannot keep a keyword or anything, or like a variable name of this, unless you surround it in quotation marks like this. Then it's not gonna cause you any problems, but otherwise it will cause you a lot of problems. So I just wanted to point that out. So instead, let's just name it num, and num is the name of the variable, so space equals space, and now we write the value. And now we're gonna write something different. How about we do 8 multiplied by 5? So the multiplication symbol in programming is not an x, so this is not valid. It's actually an asterisk, so that's what you use to multiply in Python. So if I run that, nothing's gonna display, nothing's gonna really happen. And then if I go and print over here, and if I print num, it should do the formula 8 multiplied by 5 to get 40, right? But now let me create another variable called num2, where I'm gonna introduce you to division. So num2, variable name, space equals space, and I write the value. And this time I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different. So why don't I do 12 divided by 6? Alright? And as you can see, the division sign also isn't really what you would expect. It's actually a slash, and that's how you do division in Python. Excuse me there. And if I run this, nothing happens. I didn't print it. And if I go down here and print and put num2 as the argument, and now if I run it over here, as you can see, it prints 2.0. And in the last video we covered why it says 0.0. It's because it's division, and there's always the possibility of a remainder in division, so Python is going the extra mile and just printing the 0. There's a way for Python not to print the 0, so you can just limit the amount of digits it prints, but we'll cover that in another video. So this is the multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition sign. But before we end this video, we created these two variables, num1 and num2, but guess what? Now we're going to be displaying them together. And now how exactly does that work? So let me create a print function, alright? Now let me write num first, alright? Comma, space, and num2. Now what am I doing here exactly? What I'm doing here is I'm taking the variable num, which value is 8 multiplied by 5, aka 40, and I'm taking another variable, num2, which is 12 divided by 6, and the value is 2, right? So I put both of these variables inside. So basically I put 40 and 2, right? And now I put them together like this. Now when I print this, it isn't really gonna be that interesting. It'll be confusing more like. So it's just 40 and then it'll just print 2.0. So we basically just print it in the same line. Nothing too special. But what if I told you that you can do mathematical operations inside these variables? So let me just erase this right here, and let me put a mathematical operation over here. Let's do division. Alright, so look what we're doing here carefully. Num has the value of 8 multiplied by 5, which is 40. Num2 has the value of 12 divided by 6, which is 2. So 40, num1, and 2 is num2, right? Now, when we put these two into the print function and we divide them, what we're basically doing is num, aka 40, divided by num2, aka 2. So it's the same thing as just doing 40 divided by 2, except you're doing it with variables. That's basically the only difference here, right? Now, let's run this and see what happens. As you can see, it displays 20 over here. So that's pretty cool. I mean, you can store stuff in variables and print them out together. That's pretty cool. But just like we did in the last video, I'll end out at this point where what we can also do is use numbers and variables together. So let me just create a completely different variable over here, and let me just call it num3. Num3 equals, and let's say I want to give it the value of 7 multiplied by 7. Alright, so that's basically the cube of 7. And in the print function, if I specify num3, what will happen? It'll print this, right? Nothing very special. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put a mathematical operation. One mathematical operation, let's say I want to put addition. Alright, and like we did over here, where we just put two variables together and put a mathematical operation, instead I'm gonna be merging numbers and variables together, because that's also possible. Just like we did in the last video with integers and variables and strings and all of that, you can do the same thing over here as well. It's super cool. That's why programming's so cool. Everything's so versatile. You can do a lot of stuff with a lot of things. So let's go ahead and run this over here. And as you can see, it prints 50. Now, how did this work? Now, num3 equals the value of 7 multiplied by 7, which is 49, plus 1, 50. So the value 50 is in the print function, and the print function displays it on screen, hence we have 50 on screen. And another way we could have done this is if I just quickly create a num4 equals, and let's say I do 8 multiplied by 8 this time. I create a print function and I write num4 over here, and I create it so I can do num4 over here. And instead of doing this over here, I can instead do something. It's pretty cool as well. I can put a num4 variable over here, and I can do another bracket, okay? And inside this bracket, I can do num divided by num2, okay? And then I can do a multiply here. So with anyone who's unfamiliar with what's going on right now, it's basically called BODMAS. So many schools call it different things. It may be BIDMAS, it may be BODMAS, it may be some other stuff. I don't know, but this is another thing that we can do with mathematical operations, just like we do in algebra and stuff. So if I run this over here, like the rule of BODMAS says, I'm going with BODMAS. You can go with BIDMAS or PENMAS or whatever people use these days. But how BODMAS works is bracket, open, divide, multiply, add, subtract. So that's why it's called BODMAS. So we're gonna do bracket open first. So this is the bracket. We're gonna open it. So what are the values in here? Num, and the value of num is 40. And then we have divided by num2, which is 2. If we divide them together, we basically get 2, right? Exactly, we get 2 over here. And once we divide this together, we get 20. Multiply by num4, which is 64. 64 is basically divided by 20 and multiply by 20, and hence you will get 1280 over here. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, that's basically the end of the video over here. And thank you guys for watching so much, and be sure to tune in for our next video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.